Hey everybody, welcome into the Thinking Crypto podcast, your home for cryptocurrency news and interviews. I'm your host, Tony Edward. On your way in, please hit that subscribe button as well as the thumbs up button and leave a comment below. If you're listening on a podcast platform such as Spotify or Apple, please leave a 5-star rating and review. Folks, I want to talk about September. Could we see a major rally given that August, it adjusted based on the historical patterns and wasn't that great. And obviously, Bitcoin is in a corrective phase right now. But as we were discussing in the previous podcast, Bitcoin is approaching the oversold zone. And what we've seen is when we enter that oversold zone, we have a reversal and usually a rally. So this pattern has played out beautifully here. So you just look at the RSI and the daily chart, it shows that respective pattern. And this applies to other assets as well. In addition, you have the stock market, the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ all in a corrective phase right now. So could we enter September finding the bottom and maybe the second half of September, we start rallying into October, given the catalyst which we've talked about with crypto legislation will be passed in the Senate come October. You got global M2 right now topping out in late September. You have the China tariffs that have been pushed back by 90 days, which puts us in October. And you have a potential rate cut from the Fed happening in September. So we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, we don't have a crystal ball, but we're going to look at the data and major milestones or events that are going to take place in September as well as Q4 that could signal the top. Now, as I've been telling you guys, the market has been delayed due to the tariff crash. Everything got pushed back. So this bull market may top out in Q1 of 2026. But right now, I'm going to stick to what the data is showing me that it's going to top out in Q4, maybe October, November. Once again, I don't have a crystal ball, so I can't give an exact date. But what we're looking for is the top zone when we are going to start exiting the market, taking profits. And I'll be sharing that with you guys. And I'll be sharing the different data points I'm looking at to validate my thesis, not feelings or emotions, but what are the different signals we've seen historically playing out again. So folks, it's really a waiting game to stomach the volatility. And, if you look at Bitcoin dominance, it is also continuing that downtrend. So ETH has been rallying strong. Obviously, right now it's correcting, but a lot of altcoins have been stealing the liquidity, and ETH is starting to outperform Bitcoin, even though, once again, we're in a corrective phase. But overall, based on its movements over the past month, it's been doing really well. Now, here's a chart from Jason Pizzino. He's a great analyst. He has a great YouTube channel. He said for the fourth year in a row, August will be red for Bitcoin unless Bitcoin pumps $7,000 in an hour. So he posted this right before the weekly close. Obviously, Bitcoin didn't do that. So each August in this bull market has been a turning point for the bulls. Remain patient. So again, no invalidation of the bull market thesis. Everything is still intact, but we're going to have pullbacks. We're going to have corrections. That is par for the course. So I love this chart here. It's the data, it's the facts, and we are seeing a pullback. And again, the RSI heading to that oversold zone. It's what we've seen time and time again. Now, here's some more data that supports the bull market. China's M2 is breaking out. It's pumping. So just like the US M2, if you go to the Federal Reserve's website, you can pull this up, by the way, M2 has been on the rise, just going parabolic here. And as of July, which is a month ago, it is continuing to rise. So that's why we see global liquidity, and we've been tracking this for the past year and a half. It has been one of the indicators we're using, because the more money they put in the system, folks, the more assets are going to increase. And we've been in a macro bull market for all assets: crypto, stocks, precious metals, real estate. And just yesterday, we were talking about gold's chart. Gold is starting to break out again. So again, I hope you see what's happening when you zoom out on the macro and you step away from the hourly, daily, 1 minute, and so forth. You see the thesis is still in play here. So this is really great. Yesterday, I highlighted Raoul Pal's updated global liquidity or global M2 chart, which shows, again, the top coming in around Q4, although right now it's starting to make a reversal, but it hasn't hit new highs yet. So if this starts making new highs, then, we'll update our thesis that, hey, this thing could continue into Q1 of 2026. So I hope you understand why we're saying right now the higher probability is Q4 below off top versus Q1 2026. But if the data, as it gets updated daily and weekly and monthly shows, hey, this thing is starting to rip again, then we'll adjust our thesis accordingly and plan accordingly as well. Now, whales continue to buy. On-chain data from Sentiment shows wallets with 10 or more Bitcoin are on the rise, so they continue to accumulate, folks. They're buying the dips. And even with Global M2, Ethereum is following pretty closely. So just like Bitcoin, ETH is following here. So, guys, things are still on track. I personally believe that we bottom out in the first half of September, and then second half we go bonkers. Or maybe it happens sooner, right? It doesn't have to be necessarily September 15th. Maybe it comes around the 8th or 9th or whatever it is, and then we start rallying. But key takeaway, get ready. September could be big, and the start of our rally into October, because it doesn't happen in one day or 1 week, right? This is going to play out over months. And then we hit new highs for Bitcoin and altcoins. And once again, we want to look for that top zone, or even if it's a local top, if we're going to take profits there. So, guys, September could be really good. Right now, it doesn't feel that way, right? Because if you look at the markets, it's pretty rough. You look at Bitcoin, you look at Ethereum, you look at XRP, everything's down. But again, no invalidation, right? So your feelings, your emotions, the media, and all the narratives you're going to see from bears are going to be like, it's over, the top's in, but that does not align with the data. And look, bears are shorting. You know, they won this small battle, but they're not winning the war because we're still in the bull market. Just like they were calling the top being in the tariff crash, right? Just like they were calling the top being in at every rally that's cooled down. This is what they do because they want you to sell, they want you to be in fear, and they short the market. But we're looking at the data. We're not here to look at emotions. So we're not operating by emotions. So, guys, September could be really good, and I think we're going to see the bottoming and a reversal to the upside, and the start of the parabolic phase, in my opinion. Now, folks, quick word from our sponsor, and that is Proppy. Proppy is leading the charge with putting real estate on chain. I'm a Proppy token holder. I have been since 2018. When I discovered Proppy, I realized that they were doing something unique and no one else was doing it, and that is integrating blockchain into the real estate industry. And they allow you to buy and sell homes with crypto, and the platform is powered by blockchain. So pretty revolutionary. They're a licensed Web3 pioneer. They've been operating since 2017. They've facilitated over $4 billion in transactions. They've put deeds on chain, and they use Coinbase for the crypto escrow service for the buying and selling. So once again, I'm a Proppy token holder, very bullish on this project. So if you'd like to learn more, go to proppy.com. Link will be in the description. Now, folks, along the lines of what we've been talking about with whales accumulating, we got a report here that businesses are absorbing Bitcoin 4x faster than it's being mined. So there's so much buying from the digital asset treasury companies, from ETFs and much more. It's outpacing the amount of Bitcoin that's being mined. So that's really good. You're going to have a supply and demand shock as things progress and, the market heats up and it gets crazy. So private businesses and public companies are absorbing Bitcoin nearly 4 times faster than the rate at which miners are producing new coins, according to Bitcoin financial services company River. These businesses included publicly traded Bitcoin treasury companies and conventional or private businesses, which collectively purchase 1,755 Bitcoin per day on average in 2025, according to River. So again, you got buying on all fronts. So this is really good. It bodes well for the continuation of the market. I often state that these people are not buying at this point of the market. If the top was in, they know that there's another leg up where they're going to make a nice return, be able to do the arbitrage with their stock, or as far as ETFs, they're putting their clients' funds in it and looking to make their clients money, of course. So again, these are all signals that the top is not in. So this is very, very bullish. Now, speaking of treasury companies, Solana Treasury firm DeFi Development Corp expands to the UK, plans further global launches. So I interviewed the CEO of DeFi Development Corp about a couple months ago, and like the Bitcoin treasury companies, they're looking to grab as much of the asset as possible, do the stock arbitrage. And of course, with Solana, you have the staking yield and some DeFi opportunities as well. So this is very interesting that they're expanding globally. So the Boca Raton-based firm will become the first U.S. crypto treasury firm to enter the U.K. with a new subsidiary, according to an announcement on Friday. Dubbed DFDV UK, the company also claims to be the first Solana-focused public treasury vehicle in the UK. The company is being formed by an acquisition of Cycle AI, a firm that was listed on the London stock market under the ticker CYK. L. Folks, this is very interesting because we've seen primarily these folks just operating in the US, but if they're going to do a global push, this changes the game. It brings in more capital from around the world. And the more capital they raise, the more assets they're going to buy. So if you hold the respective assets that are being bought, like Solana, like ETH, like Bitcoin, there's even XRP and others, that's going to bode well for those assets and their prices, right? So very bullish. And I do want to give the word of caution, though, that I've been giving for a while. And that is, it seems a bubble is forming here. And it's not to say that these guys are doing anything bad, but when you have folks using leverage and a lot of them are doing, billions of dollars in capital raises, again, raising the debt to go buy the asset, what happens when the bear market comes? And not every company is going to be run the same, the same operating standards. Some may have CEOs that are not great, or general managers that are not great, or whatever it is, right? So you could see some collapses. And when you have this much leverage being piled up, again, I'm not calling for a collapse. I don't want anybody to have this, but history is on our side here when we talk about the potential collapse of some of these companies, some, not all. So one of the things I've often said is I'm concerned about Sailor, because it's one thing to take some cash on your balance sheet and buy the asset. Let's say you take 20 to 25%. It's another to go raise billions of dollars, put yourself in debt, right? So you're leveraging up yourself, and then to go buy the asset that's volatile. And then when the market downturns, or there's some sort of bear market, what is going to happen? So this is where you got to watch out. This is why we want to take our profits and get the hell out. So we're not here holding the bag when some of these things collapse. And every bear market, there's something that collapses, right? And then the narrative flips to crypto's a scam, right? It's the same cyclical pattern. But again, we as educated investors, we want to be on the side of smart money, not dumb money. We don't just read headlines. We're looking at the facts, the on-chain data, SEC filings. We're looking at facts. Where is capital being invested? Who's making what moves? What adoption's happening? So that is why we don't listen to Jim Cramer and people on financial news. We're looking at the details, the facts that is not being shared on the mainstream media, right, guys? So let's see how this plays out, but this is a very interesting move, and you can imagine game theory is going to play out here. The other digital asset treasury companies are going to do the same thing. Now, this is an interesting one. Elon Musk's lawyer to chair Dogecoin Treasury raising $200 million per a report from Fortune. This is insane. I can't believe somebody's going to do a Dogecoin Treasury, but if it's attached to Elon's lawyer, what can I say, guys? What can I say? I've often stated that I have a love-hate relationship with meme coins. I believe in the free market, so I don't believe in banning anything, but I do believe in regulating, putting the guardrails, and to protect consumers. I don't believe people should be getting rugged. Like pumped out fun is maybe an example of that should be heavily regulated. But if you're investing in Dogecoin, I don't have a problem with that. Dogecoin's been around for multiple cycles, has a strong brand and community, has developers actually building. Now, it doesn't have the best utility as far as, it's not solving a major world problem, right? But a lot of people believe in it and a lot of merchants accept it. So it has this strong network effect. It has mass penetration. A lot of people know about it. But should it be a treasury strategy asset? I don't think so. I think many of you would agree with me. Let me give you the details because this is wild. Elon Musk's personal lawyer, Alex Shapiro, is listed as a chairman for a Dogecoin digital asset treasury company aiming to raise $200 million, according to a report from Fortune on Friday, which cited anonymous sources. Here's a quote. Investors are receiving pitches for a Dogecoin treasury company that will invest in a token, Fortune reported. The company plans to raise at least $200 million, the report said, adding that when the digital asset treasury company would launch is unknown. Now, if Elon's lawyers involved, I can imagine Elon's going to pump the hell out of this like he has historically. So maybe this is where he enters the market. He's been very silent about crypto, since the bull market started. In the previous bull market, he went on Saturday Night Live. He was put Bitcoin in his profile, all kinds of stuff. So if he comes out and he's saying, "Hey, this is a company that's investing in Dogecoin and blah blah blah," and he pumps it, watch out. That's one of those top signals, right? So this is interesting, nevertheless. And I don't know how I feel about this being a digital asset treasury company. And it goes back to my thoughts that I just said. A bubble is forming, right? So again, you want look, some of you may be financially in a place where you don't need to take profits. That's fine. God bless. But those of you who are looking to take profits to pay off debt or buy a house or whatever, right? This is where we're going to want to have a plan and identify that top zone and start taking profits because we don't want to be in that bear market, guys. I think you see your gut, your reason would tell you here, logic would tell you there is a bubble forming here when you have news like this, guys, right? Very, very risky. People are getting more risky, and usually that happens as we head towards the top. Now, we often talk about the token economy, and across the globe, you're going to have governments and businesses and much more launch tokens, and everything will be running on blockchains. I've often said the government, the economies, and the markets will all run on blockchain. Look at this. Japan Post Bank eyes 2026 rollout of the DCJPY deposit token for asset settlement. So, to all the people who are saying this is all a scam, blockchain is fake, blockchain's like the fax machine or whatever, right? Whatever FUD they put out here. The biggest institutions on Wall Street, the central banks, many governments are all embracing this, building with it, regulating it. So Japan's Post Bank plans to let customers convert savings into tokenized deposits on a permission blockchain as early as fiscal year 2026, the Nikkei reported. The bank will use the DCJPY token and network from Japanese firm Decurrent DCP, which was announced in August 2024. Japan's Post Bank's 120 million accounts holding 1.29 trillion in deposits, and that's $1.29 trillion, by the way, will be able to use the token for easier tokenized security settlement. Guys, do you see the direction the puck is heading in, right? This is not making the major headlines on Fox, CNN, MSNBC, wherever, New York Times. But this is why we are researching, we're educating ourselves to be up to date with what's happening here, because you're not going to hear, oh, the Bank of Japan is doing all these things and they're going to use a private blockchain. And again, do you see where the puck is heading? And this is why I am bullish, not just on this bull market, but the next bull market, which I hope you're going to come on the ride with me to buy the bloody bear market, to buy the blood on the street when everybody's fearful, and then prepare for the next euphoric greed zone, rinse and repeat, and get as much money out of this market as possible, because eventually the volatility, the returns won't be there due to more liquidity, more adoption. You're not going to have the same level of returns, right, guys? You're going to have the depreciating returns there. Not to say you won't make money, but you won't have the same upside, making 300 to 400 to 1,000% on some of these coins, right? It's not going to be there forever. So let's move ahead. El Salvador splits Bitcoin holdings between 14 addresses to enhance security against quantum threats. So this is interesting. So analysts have said the quantum computing threat to Bitcoin remains years away. The office claims to buy one Bitcoin each day through the country's top finance ministers. Told the IMF in July that the government has not bought Bitcoin since February of this year. So they've been buying in the bear markets. So I don't expect them to continue to buy, and they have to be fiscally smart here, right? And responsible, not to be buying at the top or at these high prices, because let's be honest, we are headed to that top zone, and that's not a place to be buying unless you have some sort of arbitrage setup, but they don't. They're just buying and hodling, right? But their holdings are up significantly. And it's interesting that they're doing this, and we'll see what quantum threats are going to do to the crypto market. I do believe quantum comes along and it's a threat. Crypto is the last thing we need to worry about because the traditional system, you can imagine, right? It's going to be in trouble. The banking system, the credit card system, and so forth. And I do believe that a lot of, like, for example, Bitcoin miners are going to upgrade their miners to use quantum tech. Same thing with other blockchains, right? So it will these innovations are going to happen in parallel. So I don't think it's that big of a threat, but it's good to be prepared. So I think this is a smart move on their part. Folks, that's the news. Let me know what you think. Leave your thoughts and comments below. Hit the thumbs up button. Folks, a great way you can support me is by subscribing to my free email newsletter. It is 100% free. Link will be in the description. Check out my book on Amazon. It is available in paperback and digital. Also, check out my course at mycryptocourse.com. This is a comprehensive course that teaches you everything about crypto, so check it out. All the links will be in the description. Folks, thank you so much for watching and listening. I appreciate you all, and I'll talk to you all later.